Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more detailed videos. Joyous Jasmine Paolini makes history seeing off Coco Gauff to win Italian Open. Rome. Jasmine Paolini made Italian tennis history on May 17 by winning the Italian Open, convincingly beating Coco Gauff 6-4, 6-2 to claim her second WTA 1000 title ahead of Roland Garros later in May. Late bloomer Paolini, who also won in Dubai in 2024, is the first Italian woman to win the Rome event since Raffaella Reggi in 1985 after overcoming former U.S. Open champion Gauff in straight sets. The hugely popular 29-year-old delighted the packed center court at the Foro Italico by winning the first of a potential 3 titles for local players at this year's event in the Italian capital. And after reaching 2 Grand Slam finals in 2024, Paolini, who will be world no. 4 on May 19, will be gunning to go one better in Paris after a brilliant home tournament. Every time I go out onto the court, I try to do so with joy, with passion, and with a certain amount of calm. Paolini told reporters, "It's important for me to go out there and try to have fun, not take things lightly as such, but at the same time not have too much in the way of expectations. I do what I love for my job, and that makes me hugely lucky." Paolini danced with joy on court, and some fans openly bawled in the stands after a dream week, which is not over yet, as she could yet win both the singles and women's doubles tournaments. The Tuscan and Sara Errani, who was in the crowd on May 17, take on Veronika Kudermetova and Elise Mertens in another final on May 18. Paolini and Errani, who also won Italy a first Olympic gold in tennis in Paris in 2024, will be favorites to retain their Rome title. Monica Seles was the last woman to win the singles and doubles tournaments in Rome in 1990, while the only player ever to do so in a 1000 series tournament was Vera Zvonareva at Indian Wells in 2009. Paolini's compatriot Jannik Sinner will contend the blockbuster men's singles final against rival Carlos Alcaraz on May 18, with an Italian hat trick of Rome titles still on the cards. That match ended after press time. Paolini is the oldest woman to win her first Rome title during the Open era, while Gauff, 8 years Paolini's junior, missed out on becoming the youngest American to take the crown since Serena Williams back in 2002. Similarly to her battling semifinal win over Zheng Qinwen, Gauff made 55 unforced errors to go with 7 double faults on serve, making Paolini's life unnecessarily easy. Gauff, also a loser in the Madrid final earlier in May, was visibly livid with her performance, which started with a double fault and continued with sloppy shots throughout the match. "Hopefully I can get to the final in Roland Garros. And maybe the third time lucky thing is a real thing," said Gauff. "I made the final with those errors. Made the final maybe not playing my best tennis. It just gives me confidence if I can find that good form heading into Roland Garros, I can do well there." Gauff, who will nevertheless be world no. 2 heading into the French Open, lost 5 of her 9 service games, and ended a poor evening's work with a failed service return attempt which handed Paolini possibly the biggest win of her career. AFP Joyous Jasmine. A Rome triumph 40 years in the making. In the heart of Rome, where ancient ruins whisper the legacies of empires past, a new chapter of Italian glory was written, not on parchment, but on red clay. The sun-baked courts of Foro Italico bore witness to a moment 4 decades in the making, as Jasmine Paolini, Italy's fiery underdog, played the match of her life to defeat American star Coco Gauff and win the 2025 Italian Open. The scoreboard read 6-4, 6-2, but the numbers only told part of the story. What unfolded that evening in Rome was more than a tennis match. It was a renaissance, a resurrection of belief, and a celebration of grit, identity, and heart. A stage set in sunlight and history. From the first rally, the atmosphere was electric. Italians from Naples to Milan had descended upon the eternal city, their voices raised, their hopes sky high. For most of the week, Jasmine Paolini had defied the odds, beating top 10 players with a blend of speed, craft, and courage. But now, in the final, she faced her toughest challenge yet. Coco Gauff, the 21-year-old American prodigy with Grand Slam pedigree, fierce court presence, and a rocket for a forehand. As the players emerged, the Roman crowd gave Gauff respectful applause. But when Paolini was introduced, the stands trembled. Flags waved. Trumpets blew. "Jasmine! Jasmine!" echoed across the clay. It was her home, her moment. But the nerves, they were undeniable. She opened the match with a double fault. The turning point. From doubt to belief, Gauff came out strong, breaking early and imposing her aggressive baseline game. For a moment, it seemed the occasion might overwhelm Paolini, but then came the rally, a 26-shot exchange, filled with looping ground strokes, desperate defense, and a lunging forehand winner that just clipped the sideline. Paolini let out a scream, raised her fists to the crowd, and from that moment, something shifted. She began to dance across the court. Light on her feet, eyes locked in, she started dictating points, with surprising power and elegant precision. Gauff, who had cruised through most of the tournament, suddenly found herself outmaneuvered. Paolini broke back, then held, then broke again. At 5-4, serving for the set, she fell behind 15-30. The crowd held its breath. Two booming serves brought her to set point. Then, a blistering cross-court backhand sealed it. 6-4. She looked skyward, her chest heaving, and then pointed to the crowd. The roar in response shook the Italian pines. Set 2. A dream becoming real. If the first set was a battle, the second was a statement. Gauff, visibly frustrated, struggled with the hostile energy. The Roman crowd, though never outright rude, made no secret of who they were backing. Every Paolini point was met with rapture. Every Gauff error with gasps of anticipation. It was as if all of Italy had stepped onto the court beside their Jasmine. Paolini didn't just ride the wave, she commanded it. She read Gauff's forehands like sheet music, countering with finesse. She threw in drop shots, lobs, slices, and sudden pace changes. Gauff, for all of her brilliance, couldn't settle. At 4-1, Paolini pulled off the shot of the tournament. A running forehand passing shot on the dead sprint. The crowd exploded. Even Gauff could only smile in disbelief. 2 games later, Paolini stood at match point. A deep return from Gauff. A backhand cross from Paolini. Gauff's reply. Wide. Game. Set. History. Tears on the clay. Jasmine Paolini didn't scream. She dropped her racket and looked skyward, her hands slowly rising to cover her face. Her lips trembled. Then, she dropped to her knees and wept. Not tears of relief. Tears of joy. Of legacy. Of home. All around her, the stadium stood as one. Italian flags waved high. Her box. Coaches, family, friends, erupted in celebration. Somewhere in the crowd, an old man clutched a program from 1985. When Raffaele Recchi last won this tournament for Italy, he wiped his eyes. The 40-year drought was over. A champion's grace. At the net, Gauff embraced her conqueror with warmth. You earned that, she said, later telling press. She played with fire, with emotion, with a nation behind her. I've played tough matches, but that one, that was different. She turned the crowd into a weapon, respectfully. It was beautiful to be part of. In her post-match interview, Paolini stood with the trophy in trembling hands. Her voice cracked almost immediately. I can't believe this is real, she said. To win here, in Rome, in front of my people, with all this love, I feel like I'm dreaming. She paused. As a little girl, I would sit on these steps and watch the players. I thought, maybe one day, maybe, and today, Augie, is that day. A nation rejoices. Across Italy, the celebrations began. In Florence, fans danced in piazzas. In Bologna, church bells rang. On social media, #Queen Jasmine trended worldwide. President Sergio Mattarella released a statement. Jasmine Paolini has made us all proud. With courage and elegance, she brought Italy to the center of the tennis world. Former champions chimed in, from Francesca Schiavone to Flavia Pineda. But perhaps the most touching tribute came from a rising junior in Naples, who wrote in a viral post. She's not the tallest, not the strongest, but she made us believe. I want to be just like Jasmine. Legacy. Redefined. Jasmine Paolini's win in Rome wasn't just about a trophy. It was a cultural reset. For years, she had been the quiet presence on the WTA Tour. A player with talent, sure, but not headlines, not hype. At 29, she was supposed to be nearing her twilight years. Instead, she just played the match of her life, on the biggest stage of her career, in front of the people who mattered most. She didn't need to dominate with brute strength. She played smart, fearless, joyfully. And in doing so, she reminded the world, and Italy, that tennis is not just about titles. It's about timing, heart, and the right moment. This was her moment. Looking ahead, Gauff, despite the loss, was upbeat. With the French Open just around the corner, her eyes are already on Paris. "This will push me," she said. "There's no shame in losing to a player playing out of their mind. I'll be ready next time." But in Rome, the night belonged to Jasmine.